Alright guys, you asked for it and here it is. This video will show you how to prepare for Legion so you can make insane amounts of gold. I do apologize for the length of this video, but it's important to cover things properly, and as an official disclaimer, Legion is still in beta and anything is subject to change before it goes live. Keep this in mind when stocking things. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So to give you guys an idea of what to expect from this video, these are some of the topics that will be covered. Bags, illusions, glyphs, wad pets, and some other random things. So let's start with bags. So as far as we know, there are two new Legion bags from a gold making perspective, the Undying bag and the Silk Weave satchel. The Undying bag will be extremely expensive because it will use 100 Blood of Sargeras, which as of right now is a soulbound item, meaning it will be extremely expensive. These Blood of Sargeras would need to be worth around 10 gold each to even be comparable to the cost of Hexweave bags. We know these bloods will be worth significantly more than this, which makes this bag out of reach for the average player base. Unless they decrease the mats used to make this bag and or make Bloods of Sargeras BOE, Hexweave bags will be the go-to bag throughout Legion. Even though the Undying bag has 32 slots, its price for those extra 2 slots are not worth the astronomical price these bags will be. With this in mind, make sure that you are buying all the Hexweave bags on your auction house that have a good price, anything below crafting cost for sure, and make sure you have a healthy supply of mats to keep producing these bags when you run out of your Hexweave bags, specifically Sorceress Earth. I'll talk more about these Sorceress items later. There will also be a demand for the smaller slot bags like Ember Silk and Netherweave, so again make sure you have the mats to supply those needs into the first few weeks and months of Legion. I wouldn't suggest you pre-make the Ember Silk and Netherweave bags because they take up far too much storage space. Just stock the mats. Expect to see increased sales in bags in the pre-patch as people come back to the game. Don't just wait until Legion. Take advantage of pre-patch gold making opportunities. Keep in mind that the more people who become aware of this, the more people will be stocking bags, the more competition you will face when trying to sell them. Also remember, right now in the game, most people are using their Hexweave cloth to make stage gear, as that is where the greatest profit lies. But as we get closer to Legion, this will change. People will stop producing stage gear and the greater focus will be towards these bags as the profit margins climb above stage gear. So the next thing I want to talk about are the new illusions being introduced in Legion. They are weapon enchants that enchanters can make that will unlock various weapon enchants in the new wardrobe system. Let's stop and take a minute and see what this looks like in game. So just come down here to the bottom, click on collections, and you'll get this interface that pops up. Gives you the option to enchant various different slots of your gear, but we're talking about illusions, so we're going to go straight to illusions. And here you see kind of what this interface looks like for your illusions. You'll have a couple different pages of illusions that you can select. Some of these are going to be boss drops, some of these are going to be quests, but what we're talking about right now are the ones that you can craft from Enchanting, sell in the auction house, and make gold. So you'll find these spread out in here. Let's just give you a quick example of some of them. So here's one here from Enchanting. Here's another one from Enchanting, and they're just spread out throughout this page here. So just to give you a quick idea of what that looks like. So if you couldn't already tell, this illusion system is going to be amazing in terms of gold making. So you need to make sure that you're prepared for this and not showing up in Legion and finding out about this and not having all of your mats and everything ready, because you can get your mats for all of this stuff right now, and you should be getting them right now. So because these illusions give you looks from old content looks, the mats used to make them are old content mats, meaning you can collect all of the mats for all these illusions right now, as you can see right here on the screen. So let's talk about these mats a little bit more. Anything that is cheap, just buy from the auction house. Anything that is just too expensive or not available, you might have to actually go out and farm them. So these gems are really easy to get. Don't buy them from the auction house, prospect them from this ore. Shaw crystals, make sure you have enough ethereal shards to supply your daily cooldown for Shaw crystals throughout Legion. You can also run MOP raids solo or with friends to stock up, or you can get them from Timeless Isle. Shaw crystals will be the choke point for 2 of these illusions. Make sure you have enough before prices get too high. Volatiles are cheap right now with everyone leveling and farming with not much else to do in the game. Stock up on this stuff now, again, before prices get too high. Remember that Maelstrom crystals can be split into 2 heavenly shards, so don't get caught buying expensive heavenly shards. Just split your Maelstrom crystals when you need to. Dream shards and large brilliant shards are going to be another choke point item. If they're still cheap on your server, get them now. They are upwards of 50 gold each on my server now, but they used to be around 10 gold. They are annoying to farm, so keep an eye on the auction house. And then, of course, the temporal crystals and savage blood. Make sure you have a healthy supply of those. Also, make sure you adjust your garrison setup to include barns for bloods. I'm keeping my treasure hunters rolling until they are nerfed, then I'm switching them out to barns. Also, make sure you have farmed up months of turn-ins for the barns before Legion launches, so you won't have time for that stuff after Legion hits. You're going to be focused on other things, so just get all of that stuff done now and out of the way. Also, keep in mind these sorceress items are really cheap right now. We only need earth, wind, and water for Legion. We don't need the fire. Once Legion hits and people totally forget about WoD, these sorceress items will dry up and there is nowhere that you can actually go to farm them. We rely totally on the player base for mass amounts of this stuff. You have a limited opportunity to get an enormous quantity of this stuff to last you throughout the remainder of WoW's lifetime. Buy up whichever sorceress is cheapest, including fire, and convert them to whichever form you need right now while the catalysts are also cheap. I'm personally stocking way more earth for Hexweek bags than I am water and air for illusions. Also, keep in mind that you don't just focus on selling the crafted illusions. Keep an eye on the raw mats as well. There may be times when the mats sell for more than the illusion. So even if you don't have an enchanter, you would be wise to stock up on these mats to resell later. I'll have a link to the TSM string for all of these Legion mats here, with the exception of gems, because you don't want to shop for those gems. You are better off prospecting it. And speaking of prospecting, they are bringing back prospecting in Legion, and not just prospecting, but mass prospecting. Okay, now let's talk about glyphs. And Blizzard said they wanted to change up glyphs in Legion. They are doing away completely with major glyphs, but we still have minor glyphs to make gold from. So don't panic, glyphs will be consumable and applied directly to a spell, and players will need a new glyph every time they want to switch things up. I think this is great news. We have less glyphs to deal with. We currently have 376 glyphs in the game, and in Legion we are moving down to only 94 total glyphs. This is going to make our lives so much easier in terms of inventory management. We can hold every single glyph in the game in our personal bags to post on the auction house. So we don't have to be running back to our personal bank, our guild bank, our alts to be able to manage all this stuff. It can be done very easily now. I think you guys should be excited and happy for these changes. I think it's better quality of life in terms of auction house play for glyph makers. Also keep in mind that a large majority of the glyphs are Legion glyphs. Only a few are old content, but make sure you have a good stock of inks for the foreseeable future. So I've gone through all the glyphs on the beta and I've updated my TSM strings to account for all these new changes. This is what it looks like. Make sure you sell off all those glyphs that are being removed from the game before Legion hits. You'll find this string in the description. So from this diagram, you can see that you need roughly equivalent amounts of old content inks for your Legion prep. Get all your old content inks ready now. Currently in Legion Beta, the ink vendor is still showing Warbinder's ink, but I imagine it will be changed to Legion ink when it goes live. If it does update to Legion mats as in previous expansions, you will lose the ability to get access to cheap inks until months and months into Legion when prices stabilize. Don't get caught if this happens. Make sure you have enough Blackfellow ink for thousands and thousands of Mysterious Fortune cards to last you well into Legion, along with a healthy stockpile of war paints to make your card of omens. Okay, so let's talk about pets from Warlords of Draenor, some of which will become very expensive as less people do WoD stuff once Legion hits and time goes on. Inventory dries up and mats to make them become scarce and expensive. Now is the time to buy up cheap pets and save for well into Legion. Don't expect to sell these super expensive on Legion launch. You will have to wait for the current inventory to dry up a bit. You need more patience for this type of market. This is a long-term market. So let's get into some of these items. Okay, so we have the big bag of pet supplies that comes from a garrison daily, which contains any of these pets. And we have a Fell Touched Pet Supplies that contains any of these pets. And these pets drop from the Traveler's Pet Supplies, an account-wide garrison daily. The Crazy Carrot is a pet you get from your garrison when you turn in 100 Draenic seeds. The Leftovers pet, this pet comes from crafting lots of WAD 125 stat food, which people will not be needing anymore once Legion hits. So now is the time, go to the auction house, buy up any that's cheap, save them, keep them for later in Legion, and then once the price starts picking up, that's when you start reselling them. Alright, so next on the list is the Nightshade Sproutling, which comes from picking herbs, and the Ore Eater, which comes from picking ore. I'm not entirely convinced that the price of these are going to skyrocket, because all it's going to take is a couple bots on your server picking old content herbs, and the price of these will sort of remain the same. So this one could be hit or miss. You can do what you like with these particular two pets. Next on the list is the Shard. So this pet comes from a treasure in Tanan Jungle that is available only after you have completed a long quest chain. So that one, of course, is going to pick up in price. Cinder Pup, this pet is obtained from completing a rare level 100 follower garrison mission. Less people are going to be doing their garrisons, so the price of this is obviously going to pick up as well. And now in terms of professions, there's a couple pets that you can craft from professions. Tailoring, you've got the plushie. Engineering, there's 3 different pets that you can make from engineering and blacksmithing. Now the mats used to make these, once we get into Legion, are going to dry up. Less people are going to be doing it. The supply is also at the same time going to be drying up. So there's going to come a point that the price of these are going to start increasing. And a lot of these pets right now you can get on the auction house well below crafting costs. So you might as well go to the auction house, grab up some of these pets that are really, really cheap, hold on to them, wait till a little later in Legion when the inventory dries up, price increases, and then you can offload them and sell them and make yourself some gold. Now the Land Shark, to get this pet you need a level 3 fishing shack, 700 fishing, and reputation to be able to purchase it from the vendor with 50 coins. On average you get about 2 sharks per hour. Less people will be in their garrison doing this kind of stuff in Legion, so the price is expected to rise. Alright guys, I'm going to share with you my TSM string for these battle pets for stocking up for Legion in the description, so that will be there available for you. But I also want to show you guys how you can tailor or tweak this string to suit yourself. So quickly, I'm just going to run up here to groups, and just to show you, I have my filter set to DB market. You could change that to region if you want it to, totally up to you. So go back to the battle pets right here. So these are all the battle pets that I had just talked about. Imagine that you wanted to stock up for Legion. You just wanted to focus on the battle pets that were over 500 gold, and you didn't want to deal with anything under 500 gold, which is completely fine. You pick whatever filter range you wanted to use. So all you have to type in here is /0 gold and then /500 gold if that's the range you want it to go with. If you want to get all of that stuff out of there between 0 and 500 gold, hit enter. It's going to highlight all those pets that match that filter between 0 and 500 gold in terms of DB market. So then you would just hit remove. All of those cheap pets are now completely gone out of your string, and all you're left with right now are all of the pets that are over 500 gold in terms of DB market. You can focus on stocking up the ones that have, you know, a more solid value, and you don't have to waste your time dealing with things that are, you know, really, really cheap, because they're probably not going to increase to a substantial point. It's probably not worth your time and storage space to have them. So adjust that to however it is you want to adjust it. Okay, there are a few items you can get from rare garrison missions that will increase in price as less people do garrison stuff in Legion. The most obvious item is the Coalfist Grondling. This is a fairly cheap mount in terms of mounts that can be bought from the auction house. These will naturally move fast just because of the price, especially when Legion hits and well into Legion. Also, because less people will be doing garrison missions in Legion, the supply of this will dry up and the demand will be strong for this item. Also, people coming back in the pre-patch will be looking to grab things up that they might have missed. Be ready to sell these in pre-patch as well if the price is right. Now, for the Elixir of Rapid Mind and Medallion of the Legion, I expect these to rise in the pre-patch as people come back to the game and try to get their characters in order for Legion. People will be on a rush to level up any alts not yet leveled, and those who have not yet got their WAD flying will also be in a rush to get this done before Legion. These are more of a pre-patch item in my opinion. However, I'm not entirely confident these will hold major value into Legion, as these items only benefit players in WAD content. So please play this market with caution. Now, another similar item worth mentioning is the Void Shrouded Satchel, which is from a rare garrison mission. This item is a BOA trinket. It's an annoying market because they can only be sold through trades. They cannot be put on the auction house. I have a few saved for pre-patch and Legion, but not many because the market is just too annoying for me. Okay guys, we're going to talk about shirts, and shirts are going to be very, very important for Legion in terms of the new wardrobe system, and it's going to make you a whole lot of gold if you're prepared for it. So let's take a quick peek at this system. Down here to collections, and we go up here to shirts, and we've got a couple different pages of shirts on here. So some shirts are vendor shirts, some are profession shirts, variety of different sources that you get these shirts from. So we can see here a bunch of different profession shirts showing up here. So it's going to be important for you guys to be prepared to have these shirts on the auction house, so you need to stock up for the materials for these shirts now. So when people get into Legion and they get access to this new interface, they're going to see which shirts that they don't already have learned, and they're going to want to fill in those blanks and make sure that they have learned as many shirts as they can. And shirts, you know, aren't too expensive, so people are going to be more inclined to fill up these slots. I'll be making another video that will go into more detail on these shirts, but for right now I'm focusing on shirts that you can craft from your tailoring profession. It's going to be extremely important that you have an adequate supply of linen, wool, silk, mage weave, and frost weave cloth to be able to make these shirts. Buy all the cheap cloth you can from the auction house now and turn it into bolts and store it away for Legion. So many people are leveling right now as there isn't much else to do, so there is an abundant supply of very cheap cloth on the auction house. When Legion comes, this will change and it will be a lot harder to get lots of cheap cloth, so now is the time. If you are missing any shirt recipes, make sure you get those now. You could even buy up some of those rare shirt recipes to resell in Legion. It's worth mentioning that the very rare World Drop shirt will share the same illusion as the cheap tailoring crafted shirt. So be careful not to spend a lot of gold buying this rare shirt on the auction house. There is something I'm stocking up on that is more of a pre-patch focus, but could benefit me in Legion. In terms of leveling up professions quickly and cheaply, I'm stocking up on Crescent Saberfish Flesh, as this is an incredibly cheap and easy way to level alchemy, and Blood of Sargeras will be able to be transmuted by an alchemist at level 700 alchemy. Granted, there is a daily cooldown, but this will be an option for those of us who refuse to actively play all of our alts to maintain a Blood of Sargeras source, especially since most crafted items will only use 2 to 5 bloods. So on my alt account, I'm setting up an alchemist on all my alts to pair with each profession as a backup plan in case bloods remain BOP. I imagine other people will be doing something similar, and since the Crescent Saberfish Flesh are so cheap right now, this is a very low risk investment. Draenic Dust is another mat that is used to level enchanting and is very cheap, so I'm stocking up on those as well. Those people who come back in the pre-patch and Legion who want to get their filthy hands on illusion gold making will need an enchanter. Most illusions need higher level enchanting, and leveling an enchanter with Legion mats will be outrageously expensive, so people will default to the WAD leveling method. These are the only profession leveling mats I'm focusing on in my preparation for Legion because it feeds into Blood of Sargeras and illusions, which are going to be huge in Legion. Now, the only other thing worth mentioning is just to stock up on any mats that you use or sell on a regular basis. What does that mean? Well, if you are into crafting lots of stuff from professions, well, that means having a healthy supply of those mats to last you well into Legion, to cover that period when everyone is leveling in Legion. It will be very hard to get large amounts of mats at cheap prices during that time. Now is the time to stock up when everything is cheap and abundant. Also, any mats that you have to farm yourself, you would also want to stock up on some of that stuff too, so you are free to level and focus on Legion when Legion hits. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned some new ideas of things you can be doing now to make you lots of gold in Legion. Good luck with your Legion prep, and don't put your stockpiling off. Prices will only rise as more people become aware of these things. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Please subscribe and comment.